We're going to begin with prayer from Reverend Vanderklaan. Let's pray together. Father God, we thank you for this beautiful day that you've blessed us with. You've blessed us with so many good things. We thank you for health and strength, the ability to enjoy our family and our loved ones, the opportunities to work with others of like mind. Father, we pray your blessing upon our meeting tonight as a board. We ask that you would guide us. We thank you for being with us and for what you promise us. And so bless our meeting, we pray in Christ's name. Amen. Amen. Please stand and join us in the saying of our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Well, I apologize for my voice tonight. I've had the crud, whatever's going around here for the last week. So it's just really, my head feels a lot tense right now. No, we'll get through it here. My quote this meeting has to do with voting, since the next time we meet will be after the vote. I have quotes from second cousins, founders. Who can think of the second cousins who they might have been? Anybody? Anybody? Starting with Samuel Adams. Before he was a beer, he was the founder of the Sons of Liberty. And he said, let each citizen remember at the moment he is offering his vote that he is executing one of the most solemn trusts in human society for which he is accountable both to God and to his country. And then his second cousin, John Adams, said, you will never know how much it cost my generation to preserve your freedom. I hope you will make good use of it. So, that Revolutionary War generation knew what it cost to protect our right to vote, among other rights, and I trust that we'll all exercise that right as well as encourage others to do the same. If you're like me, just the fact that you're in a position like this, you are probably asked by a lot of family members and friends, hey, what's this proposal, or who should I vote for, or what do you think about that judge? Does that happen to y'all? Quite a bit, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then that forces you to study, say, what do I think about that judge? You know? So hopefully you wield your influence carefully. Okay. Reverend Vanderklaan, the roll, please. Mr. Chairman, let the roll indicate that all members are present with the exception of Mrs. Steele. All right. Is she okay? I didn't hear. Yeah.
She's in Disney World.
Disney World, okay. She's more than anniversary. 10th anniversary celebration. Nice. Nice. All right. All right. The agenda this evening. Is there a motion to approve our agenda? So moved.
Support.
Been supported. Any comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And the agenda this evening is approved. Item number 6, communication letters and reports received for information. So the board has reviewed those. They're part of the record. All right. Item 7, public comment period. You're allowed to address the board for up to 3 minutes on any item that's on the agenda this evening. We've got 2 or 3 substantive items. If you had a chance to see those, imagine if you were here to speak to one of them, you'd know what they were. If you choose not to speak at this time, there will be a second public comment period toward the end of the meeting. Any takers for the first one? All right, seeing none, we'll close the first public comment period. Item 8, the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I would make that motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Any comments? Anyone wish to remove any of the items on the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. And the consent agenda items are approved. Number 9, request for lease. Is there a motion to authorize the superintendent to negotiate this lease for a little bit of extra space by one of our cell phone tower poles? They're not ours, but AT&T's, I believe.
Hello.
Support. All right, discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to amend this motion, and my amendment is I would move to delete the word negotiate and insert the word complete. The word negotiate appears twice And I'd like to have those two deleted and changed to complete. And if I move that amendment, if someone supports it, then I can.
I'll support that.
And the reason I'm suggesting that is because I think it was the mind, and Carol and Jim, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought it was the mind of the Finance Committee that we direct our superintendent to complete this, rather than the idea of negotiation is that he would have to come back with a report. And I think we felt that just give him direction to complete it. And so that's why I'm suggesting that.
Comments, anyone?
So you mean he can't come back to us to?
Doesn't need to. In my opinion, he doesn't need to.
Explain, Dan. I don't know if anybody needs explanation. Very briefly again, where it is and what it is that you're talking about.
By Rush Creek Park, we already have a cell phone tower there, and they want to put another generator pad for one of the antennas, and so they want to lease a little tiny space to one side, just off the antenna. So that's what they're looking for. They've offered us $300 a month to start, so that's where we're looking at to start the negotiation. So I think the only question was whether it had to come back, and we don't have a meeting for a month, and so that's just whether you want it to come back or not. That's up to you.
Any thoughts, anyone? There's a motion without approval yet to amend. Am I right? There's no approval? Okay. Comments on the proposed amendment to the motion here.
Dan has done this many times. I would trust his point of view.
And I would agree with Dan that, we won't be coming back now for several weeks, so, might as well just complete it. And it doesn't really need to be negotiated, I don't think. We had already offered a price, and I think we were pretty content with that. We're good with it.
Comments, rebuttal, anyone?
I would just say it's not that I don't trust Dan, but I'd like to see, know more about it. And I guess there can't be discussion about that until we vote on the amendment.
For what it's worth, from my perspective, when we sold the cell tower sites this summer, we got to where we gave Dan authority, correct, respect, and that was a much bigger transaction. At this point, we're talking about just an add-on, and I think he probably has a very good sense from those negotiations being so recent. If it hadn't been for that, I tend to agree with Michael. Being so recent, I think he's got a good feel for what is a fair price, and so I'd be supportive of not having to interfere with that or to hold it up. Yes, any opinion? Otherwise, we'll just take a vote.
I think Dan's probably very well versed on this. Okay.
Actually,
is that building?
Yes?
Are they going to build this year yet?
Say it again?
They're going to build this year
I
yet?
don't think so. I don't think so, right, Dan? They wouldn't build it yet this fall, would they?
I'm not sure on the timing, so this is just the first start. So I would think weather would not be stopping them.
I'm sure Mike's point in that is, there's not a rush, and indeed there's not a rush. I don't feel the way. I'm not expressing my opinion based on the timing of it, I guess, as much as just saying I'm just comfortable with it. So, is there anyone who wishes to second the motion to amend?
I did.
I thought it was.
Original motion. You did now? Okay. All right. So we're voting on the amendment to the original motion at this point.
Correct.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
All right. So the amendment to the motion is carried. Is there any further discussion now on the amended motion that's before you? Not then.
How many square foot is this?
I'm sorry.
How many square foot do they want?
I think it's 300, is it?
Pretty small, but I'll look in a minute.
10 by 30. We don't have a rough draft of a contract, the first draft or anything?
That was more than
all I got attached in the K, and then
the lease price.
the agenda is just a picture of what's going to be there, which doesn't tell me a whole lot.
They're looking for like a 10 by 15 foot.
By 15. 150 foot.
150, okay. All
But
right.
it is going to take up space around it that you can't put something next to it. So
it's going right next to one we already have. Yeah. So, you can see what they want to do, kind of like right next to the
The picture is a little
the green lines to it.
Yeah.
All right.
And 300 is the starting point.
Yes, it's probably pretty close to where we'll end up, but yes, that's the starting point, yes.
Just ballpark, how much space do we sell out the lease for the cell towers? Do those occupy like 100 by 100? Or is there a fall zone? So it's
It'd be more like probably less than 50 by 50.
less than 50 by 50.
Yeah.
So price-wise, how does this compare? Because we were making pretty good money per tower location for leases. $300 a month seems awfully cheap. But that's just me, based on what we were getting for leases.
So,
I agree with that, Michael, and I think at least one of the thoughts that came up at finance, I'm not sure which direction it'll take, but the motion did include the idea of a sale. My hunch is that that's probably going to be the way it eventually goes, a lease and then immediately being bought out.
big option
Yeah,
if you're able to do it, so.
So that we wouldn't be looking as much at monthly payment as we would at, as much as we would at a sale. And I guess it seems consistent since we sold that plot there, that we probably wouldn't go, let's hang on to this piece versus saying, okay, let's let them complete that footprint, if you will. That I know you're familiar with, Dan, because I think we were all surprised. I think you expressed surprise at how much we were able to sell some of those for. I hope you're surprised again.
We'll see.
Okay.
It's like the idea of holding on to it and just getting that monthly payment like we used to get with cell towers.
Yeah. No.
And then we could renegotiate.
Got that option. All right. So this is not a roll call. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
All right. The motion's carried. Item number 10, a resolution for petition for Edson Drive East, Chapter 20, Drain District. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman, for the resolution, to approve the resolution for the petition for Edson Drive East, Chapter 20 drain.
Support. Okay, moved and supported. Discussion. All right, I know that everyone understands that this needs to happen now with the new drainage system there in Edson. So if there's not discussion, let's take a roll call vote.
Yes, it is a roll call. Mr. Schwab.
Yes.
Clerk votes yes. Mr. Wieringa.
Yes.
Mrs. Skolma.
Yes.
Mr. Manier.
Yes.
Mr. Bosch.
Yes.
All right, item 11. Review sidewalk task plan presented by the Utilities Committee for input. Appreciate that, Utilities Committee members. I'm glad you keep bringing that back in front of us. So is there, I guess there's not really a motion I'm looking for at this point in time. I think as much as maybe some discussion that we could have as a board.
Can you see it okay? I just want to make sure you can see if I'm not turning a few lights off.
I assume the Utilities Committee has a large printout when they go over it, right? You lay it out on the table and so on.
Basically, each of the members looked over the township and kind of tried to prioritize main routes where they needed to, or they wanted to see paths, some type of pedestrian path.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're seeing here in the wish list is the yellows. So the red is where we have something. It may not be the finished product that you want, but we have something. And you can see the blue has we have one side, some options on one side. So what you're looking at is the different yellow ones have been their request to kind of look at. And so we're not trying to get your approval today. What we really want to know is there additional streets you would like to see, or you think there's streets that shouldn't be on the plan, just to kind of get your input. And if you don't have that ready today, if you could get that to us, and I'll bring it to the Utility Committee soon. And we wanted to at least see kind of where it's coming and where it's going, and kind of get any feedback you want to have before we keep moving down. The next step on this before approval then would be obviously look at funding and timing. That would be the next step of the committee once we know the scope of the work and basically who will pay, whether there'll be participation, what level of participation. That'll have to be decided. And then we want to eventually then at that point present the plan to the public to get their comments and feedback on it, and if they want to see any changes or additions, and then it will come back to you for approval after you have those comments. Yeah. So it's a relatively slow process, but this is where we're at right now to see it's being worked on.
When does the utilities committee meet again? So between now and,
So
I mean, for us to review this and study it a
at our
bit
first
more.
meeting in December. we'll be
Okay,
there.
so we've got a good portion of time,
So,
and we can look at this. Okay,
yeah,
good.
7, 8 weeks. So that's the idea, basically. If you get that input, and I mean, anyone, it's on our website now with the minutes, so anyone can present it. But we haven't pushed it to the public because we haven't got your feedback yet.
Sure.
And we want to have that feedback, and of course, timing is a big thing, and funding is a big thing as well. So those will have to be worked on.
I feel like we've seen this before. Was it something similar? Is this a new creation or adaptation by the...
This map is a utility map, and so you might see that in other areas.
Did you not present us with a highlighted version previously of existing?
It's been at the utility committee meeting multiple times, so
Yeah.
you've seen it there. It's been multiple times at the utility committee. So
Maybe back when I was on it, because it seems familiar to me in some
well,
respects.
I mean, it's in development. It's been changed and tweaked, and they've worked on it. And I know one member's not here right now, but they all kind of did their routes and walking areas and driving areas and checked out the streets. And
I like that.
but it doesn't mean it's completed. They just kind of saying, hey, these are what they see, and you can see the red is where since the sidewalk requirement's been in, and how that's really dramatically growing.
In the research that the utilities committee did you have any member of the public, a resident, come or say, you know, you really should put a sidewalk on this street, or is that pretty much?
But remember, we had the public or township forum or meetings, open meetings. We had workshops. I'm trying to think of the right word. I'm trying to think of town halls that we discussed past. So that was some of the input they received. So I mean, they still have that. I don't remember what was it, 30 or 40 people. I can't remember the exact number, but they came in. And so I mean, that's kind of back when the process started. This became a board goal, and as the board
helped with that process.
Right.
Process.
Yeah. So that input came into them, and then they kind of went out and checked the street. So.
Likely to refer to, for lack of a better term, like a master plan or whatever, wanting to see that for sidewalks. And that always kind of resonated with me. I don't know if that's the right term, but this is more akin to, I think, at least what came in my mind when you mentioned that in the past, is an overview, something that shows you what is, what can be, where you might want to focus, what the possibilities are. I appreciate that. I think that's helpful. I can remember back to the very first time I ran, I was surprised when I had to get my petition signed. I heard more about sidewalks. This was 10 years ago than about any other subject at that point in time. I don't know why that was that day. And not just people who, in fact, oftentimes it's not the bikers because they use the road anyways a lot of times, but there were just people that I think wanted to get around within the community. And I would say, when I think about over 10 years' time, at least in my personal experience, something that I can say has come up consistently versus an issue that spikes and is hot and then you never hear about it again. That's an issue that's just really never gone away from the very first time I circulated a petition. And I remember what I guess condensing of what I've heard over the years, for those of you who are on utilities, is I've really heard about the primaries, the primaries, and they have the greatest bang, of course, for the buck. And I think the harder choices are going to be, how many you can do, how quickly, which ones would you pay for or not pay for? Do you do both sides or one side? There's a lot of decisions to be made, but I hope as you look at it, my input as I look through this was I'd like to see the primaries, the 36th, the 40th, the 48th, the Port Sheldon, those kind of streets, that really are important, big streets. So
we did ask for individuals to give us input. Tom Tembrink, particularly around the schools, had a great deal of input into that. Many citizens talk about the fact that some of our schools do not have sidewalks, and they're worried about the kids. This gives us a starting point. It doesn't mean it'll be something that will be done immediately, and it may be other boards down the road. At least they know that we've looked at this, and this should be a priority.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the issues that will arise, I guess I'd like to hear on utilities as well, right? Have you begun to dig into that question that we always face of where do you decide to contribute? Where do you decide not to contribute? Because there are certain of these that are big enough and important enough, I think that it becomes almost incumbent on the township to make certain it happens, provided it's budgeted and I guess spread out sufficiently that you don't crunch your budget. But certain of these might be, as we have had the habit of doing with some of the larger roads where we've installed the 8-foot wide path or what have you. Have you figured out what your criteria will be for when to determine?
One of the big things would be as projects come up, as roads are worked on, like what's happening with Cottonwood now, or as roads get resurfaced, as we have crews there, and we can probably add on a sidewalk or a path cheaper than in its own private project. And so, with this as a guideline, we can look at upcoming projects and see what lines up where. That would just be one thought, to try and work those in and get best price possible.
Remind me of what, in the next year or two, what projects are upcoming that could have bearing on when you do a certain one of these. Is there one in the next 2 years that you can think of?
36 and 40th are both slated to be resurfaced. So
yeah, okay. You're looking at those and possible savings to...
We're leaning towards widening it, adding onto the road. And normally you'd go 3 feet. We're looking at possibly 6.
So it's not a separate path, but something that...
Well, we're still discussing that. But with the terrain and the ditches, it'd be quite expensive. So all that has to be weighed.
Yeah. Thanks for digging into it. I mean, I think that's...
And I think it's just good to have something out where people come up and say, hey, you just blindsided us with this. There was no warning. There was no... Well, now we have, this is available. And, once we get everybody else's input, we can say this is available. Maybe, it may not happen for 10 years in certain areas on the wish list, but we can say, here's our intent. This is where we feel the community can best benefit from having sidewalks, paths, whatever it might be to keep people safer.
Yeah. I think you've done a good job of putting forward at least one, oftentimes 2 or maybe even 3 projects at a time, that there's always something happening. Because you don't kill a list that size unless you're consistently taking a step, So, anybody, any additional comments? I trust everyone. I know that you've studied it in part, but it sounds like we've got some time here. Dan, I'm not out of line saying it's not as though one of us can't reach out. Hey, you're on the Utilities Committee. I've been thinking about it now. Here, take these comments to the committee.
it should probably go through a central approach. So they all get them. And then...
Yeah. Okay, meaning they could email thoughts or comments
to me, and then I'll send them to all of them.
Got it. Okay.
We will be doing, I'm sure, pedestrian studies, something just to verify these before we go ahead and force people to put in sidewalks to make sure.
Those are all things you have to work through.
Because that's what I would like to see. And when I said master plan, what I meant was have a vision. What are we trying to accomplish? Instead of just some here, some there.
I'll ask them then point blank, what are you trying to accomplish as you guys see it? What do you feel like is your goal?
We're trying to be as practical right now as we can with the funds we have available and for the safety of the children. We thought this would be the first step that we would take for a long-range program, and then we'd have to discuss how we're going to fund this. Would it be the individuals? Would we use township funds? But you need a starting point, and this is the way to get input in from the citizens. But they need to have something to look at to start from. Policy. Go ahead. Sorry. Do we have a policy where, there's individuals who don't want to see any sidewalks? Then there's others that think there should be a sidewalk on every street. I think as time goes by, the more sidewalks that get made available, the safer it's going to be. But we want to be as practical as we possibly can with where it's needed the most right now. I would say particularly by the school. But the main streets, obviously.
Do we have a list of like our top 10 most dangerous streets or most highest traffic streets? I would imagine 48th would be one of them. Because like I said, that's what I do with that. 24th too, I was surprised I didn't see that one on there. That's an incredibly in my mind and from what I've seen, dangerous because there's a wide shoulder on both sides, and it's probably 7 foot maybe. But the problem is people park there because it's big enough, which they can. I mean, that's what it's there for too, which forces pedestrians into the roadway, which is worse than a little 2-foot shoulder. So I always rank that one, and is it 45 there? It's 45. It's pretty quick. So that would have been one if I could offer my suggestion for.
Sure. That's what we're looking for, those
That's
suggestions.
good. Good suggestion. In fact, Sarge, I don't know if I know you keep track of where most accidents occur and so on. That might be helpful to give them an updated list of. Huh? Yeah.
For safety reasons. But yeah, I'd like to see pedestrian study too.
24th is something that might be used on some of these other streets. Like John was saying, that there are some areas where at the end of the road, there's not much room to drop off. There's areas like that in which putting in a sidewalk may not be practical, that we would look at doing something like we have on 24th. So some of the goals maybe for some of these areas outlined in yellow might be to end up like a 24th, a street with a very wide shoulder, like John was saying.
I get the practical realities of cost and topography and so on. I just know as a parent, small children, I would never be comfortable with them on some of these roads with just a wide shoulder. And yet, if that's all certain areas that's all you can really do, I guess it would be better than whatever existed. But as a parent, the separate paths I feel very good about. So just a thought.
That's what I wonder too with, I know, like you said, with the shoulder, my wife, we bike down Bauer. We go from sidewalks to a shoulder. My wife does not like that at all, even though her daughter's 11.
Yeah.
She still gets real nervous, but some of that kind of connectivity I'd like to see from that subdivision, the main subdivision that don't, like 28th was a perfect example. We should have done both sides because you can see the neighborhoods on the side without the sidewalk. Even if there was one there, it wouldn't connect to anything anyway. It's just that short one that goes to the park. Just having that purpose, really trying to connect things. And then with that pedestrian study too, with parents worried about their kids, how many parents let their kids walk to school even if they're a block away nowadays? Seems like when you see the school traffic backed up out into roads because we live a block away, but I don't want my child. Which is, it's helicopter parenting, which is understandable.
Funny, I drive my kids to school, but I park the farthest away from the door as possible, just as a way of giving them that experience. We'll walk to that school.
I do. Before Dale Moore, we didn't have a parks plan, and so you couldn't apply for grants. You didn't have a foundation, and as new board members would come on, they wouldn't see the framework of what is possible. This is the first step. Mm-hmm. Let's take a look at the sidewalks. What are those that desperately need to be done? And this is the opinion of the board at this particular time. Mm-hmm. My guess is, as Jason said, we're looking 5, 10 years. We don't know how far down the road, but at least they got something to start with, and they know that there was a board that was very supportive of this.
It'd be interesting to see in future boards, given that some of the brick and mortar has been completed or is being completed within this span of time, be it the senior center or the library, et cetera. Parks have been improved greatly, I think, the last 2 to 5 to 6 years. If they won't see sidewalks as their new park project and their brick and mortar, saying, look, that's where our focus is, that's where our dollars are going to be concentrated for a period of time and really knock some of these off on some future boards. I think it'd be all right. I remember hearing, we get a lot of feedback from the public, walkability, connectivity. Hard to keep our kids. They want a walkable community. They want a connected community, and that may win the day, in the years to come here. All right, that was strictly for discussion. Am I right, Dan? Okay. Thank you, utilities. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep putting it in front of us and in front of the public. Okay, before we have discussion, let's open it up for public comment. I know we scared away a few of them, or maybe we bored them. I don't know. The ones in the back are gone, but we've picked up a few toward the front. Does anyone wish to address the board on any subject at all? You don't feel like you have to. We appreciate you coming one way or the other. So, all right. How about in the second row? No, you're all set. Okay.
It's a requirement of the teachers that they say they have to get up and
That's right.
public comment to
That's
get credit.
right.
So.
All right. Well, seeing no one, we'll close the second public comment period. Discussion. If I could start us off tonight, just a couple of things. So, first of all, just so you know, in case people should ask you, the paving of the southwest lanes on Cottonwood starts tomorrow. Starts tomorrow, and I think people will appreciate that and be grateful. And then Dan, you've got a picture or two of the lines that are going to be drawn for the pickleball court and the painting that was done to be our first dabbling into pickleball here in Georgetown. Do you have a picture?
There, she's bringing it up.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's what was, correct, or is that what is?
Well, it's light because they're different colors. So you see the basketball line coming up, but let me turn the lights off. You can see the pickleball goes the other way if you look close. Can you tell now? Can you see him here?
Yeah, lightly.
So check the next photograph. See if the one will be better. There you go.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So you can see him there.
You know,
right now, I mean, this one here is meant to be a dual purpose, so they'd have to bring their own stuff and take it down. If this takes off, that's the idea was we do have a place at Woodcrest Park to put a complex, multiple courts if the board wishes that in the future.
I would love that, Dan, personally. I think someone might pull up and without a sign would go, what are those lines for,
To answer a question.
Really large foursquare, huh?
This is what people call looking for a place.
Yeah, right.
Is there more pictures of them? I think there's a couple. I think it's basically the same thing. You can see it.
Sure.
So.
Sure.
Okay. They
can
start.
Jim, we had a petition from 75 people that would like to see it also out by Rush Creek Park. So we're just getting started.
It strikes me a little bit like the racquetball phase back in the 70s. Remember when racquetball?
Oh, sure.
Right, everybody, did you join, Rich, or not?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you play? Everybody played racquetball. You guys think it's weird, but everybody played racquetball like around 1975. Did you play racquetball, Michael? Or you were too young there. Too young.
Not 75.
No, I know, but I think it phased out by the time you would have been old enough. But it was the thing, man, wasn't it? Did you play with that?
Oh, yeah. Big into it. But it's coming back because her grandson has playing it. So it's coming back to
Yeah. That's right. It'd be interesting to see, is this like tennis that holds itself, or is it like racquetball that spikes for 10 years and then...
It's a big thing out west, but in Arizona.
Sure.
But we'll see.
Oh, it's a hot item. I hear about it. Gravel's got them. Puzzle's got them.
Now, did we put on our Facebook page that we have pickleball courts? Did you know we now have pickleball courts?
We just introduced it. Just got done.
Yeah, but he's saying, it wouldn't be a bad idea.
People know so they don't.
It's planned for tomorrow.
Cool.
I mean, we wanted you to know first, so they just got that.
If we change your mind, we can paint
Yeah,
over
real quick.
Yeah.
That'd be...
And at this point, they have to bring their own net. But, yeah, we'll push it.
All right. Other discussion points. General information.
Yeah, I've got 3 items. One, status of Chicago Drive trees. I saw on Finance Committee it's nixed. Done deal. It's nixed. We will not be putting trees. We're not going to pursue it. We didn't end up contracting MC Smith to come up with more drawings or anything, did we?
This was the original plan.
Just the original. Just got resubmitted.
They did some work researching the options, certainly.
Oh, MC Smith did more research?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll ask later for the amount that costs. And I also noticed there's Finance Committee decided we're not going to do goal setting meetings 2019.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I'm glad you bring that up. I forgot it was in the minutes. The discussion, at least that we had among us, was because of the library. It's sort of an unusual year because the library sort of sucked the action out of the room, if you will. What would normally be a 2-hour meeting or whatever it wasn't always capital improvements or expenditures, but it often was primarily that, at least in recent years. We felt like it would not be bad to have, to dispense with it this time around, just because we've dedicated ourselves to that one project, and there really isn't a lot of room for other projects anywhere near of that scope or nature. We also said that sometimes comes bubbling up in that meeting thoughts about, hey, I think we ought to do X or Y. We ought to review, these policies, or those things can still come through and onto the board agenda without necessarily a goal-setting meeting. We felt like this next year. Anybody feel strongly or differently?
I think you're right. I think from what I recall of that discussion, we can do some of that through committee, like you just indicated. Some of that stuff comes through committee, and we could continue to do that. So I have no problem with taking that approach.
Seemed like it's a savings, frankly, of the cost of a meeting. You were each going to say something on either end.
I would like a goal-setting meeting. I think even having one that would be more of, I don't want to say get to know you, but normally you'll have like a retreat. I think it's good for us. I think talking about policies, talking about our vision. The library is on the table now as far as being put together, but there's many areas in the township in general that I'd like to see us have just a free discussion. I think it'd be good for us, and even considering the library. But you guys, finance can make the call.
Yep. Well, I hear, because there's two trains of thought with that. One is we didn't used to have them on a regular basis. It sort of came along in years past here. It wasn't always the case. So there's not sort of a mandatory sense of you need to do this. It may have served its purpose and may resurrect after a year or two, On the other hand, your perspective is, I don't care if it's about setting goals in terms of expenditures and all. I just think it's good for us as a board to have that time of just at the beginning of the new year, just having a discussion.
A chance to set vision. I think it'd be good for us. But
on this end, Michael?
Well, I was going to say, when I first saw it, I was excited because I'm like, finally, it's my turn. Because for the past two goal settings, it's always, I come up with stuff. It's not spending. It's how can we save money? How can we be more efficient? What can we do to streamline things, improve things? Although I did have one, that first goal setting, it was an ice rink at Rosewood Park, Charlie's Dump, which was, we're talking $12,000 or something. And that was my only spending, but other than that, it was always efficiency, transparency, that kind of stuff. And that's why I thought this would be perfect. Now we're out of money, so we can't spend, so there's nothing to have a spending section. So now we can talk about, really dig in and look at, all right, what can we improve? What can we do that doesn't cost money? How can we save money? So I was excited for that. Yeah. But the other thing, too, I didn't like was, it seems, and I mentioned it before at meetings, a lot of times stuff is decided in finance. And then it's kind of, what's on through, which I don't like to see that as. That's three board members making decisions. And then it goes through under, communications, and it's a finance, and if nobody looks at it, nobody knows, and it's a done deal. So
I always look at the minutes of all the meetings, frankly. Finance having to be the one that's always closest to the board meeting, and so in that respect, sometimes picks up items that you wouldn't necessarily, hey, that's not finance related, but it's just more, like say, kind of expediency with the meeting coming. But you should always read the minutes and make sure there aren't things that we aren't thinking ourselves. Like tonight, you brought that up. I was like, oh, thank you. I don't remember that until you say that, but we don't mean to slip it by anybody,
I don't see it as a rubber stamp. I think I'm very pleased with, I think the Finance Committee does a wonderful job, and all of you are open to phone calls or anything like that.
And we think every committee, of course, is important. I mean, every committee we serve on has a role and a purpose, and we appreciate whether it be the sidewalks we talked about tonight or other things. I would say, Michael, maybe send me an email, just some of the thoughts you have about different items, and if they don't seem to be naturally within the purview of one committee or another, maybe they would strike me as things that as a board we ought to weigh in on, and then we can talk about whether that's in the context of another meeting or setting aside, because we've had, of late at least, shorter meetings or shorter agendas, maybe it'd be a matter of having a discussion, a given meeting on a given topic, that rather than do it at a goal-setting session, we could just do it the last half hour or 15, 20 minutes of a regular board meeting. So just a thought.
Yeah, we can do that on top of a goal-setting meeting too. And also, nobody's saying finance committee's not doing a wonderful job. It's not the question.
No, I didn't take it that way. No.
I know it always gets back to, well, they're such great people. They do fantastic work. That's not what it's about. It's about the transparency and.
We just wanted to save the money of having another meeting, but.
Well, I would make a recommendation that from this point forward, we no longer use taxpayer money to pay for food for board members. That's why I don't eat at them, because
I know that's why I don't eat at them.
But if we want to save money, that's the road I would take to start with too. But you know me, I'm a fiscal conservative.
You're just carrying that tofu right in your pocket and bringing it up.
Energy drinks and protein bars.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to adjourn.
I actually had one more item I said.
All right, when you get to tofu, you're probably getting off topic. Does anybody else who had any items of discussion tonight? Jason, anything you wish to bring up? Carol? No. John?
I'm fine.
And I know Rich doesn't.
And I'm flexible with whether we have a meeting.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll hear from you, Michael.
And I did say I had 3 items. The other was just a quick update on 200 Baldwin. They buying, not buying?
They still have till November 7th for the first round of the lease, and then they could go for an extension.
Looking good?
It seems like more likely, because at least we're hearing something.
They did come in with talk about site plans, so that's a positive.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. For those of you who are coffee drinkers, your chance is still there. All right. Appreciate bringing up those points of discussion.
Move to adjourn.
Support. I was getting to that. There's a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Support. Moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right.